Hi, we're going back to school today and we're going to do some maths. But first, there's a little bit of maths we need to figure out. And it's 1 spoonful of brown and 2 spoonfuls of white. I'll let you lot figure out what that might be. Roll the intro. Hi, welcome to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Langers and I am the Scruffy Trader, who today is the Scruffy Teacher, because we're going to go back to school and do some maths and try and put trading in the real world. But talking of maths, we did an equation earlier and here's a solution. What was it for me? Thank you.
It is. So can we finish early?
No, you're on detention.
Detention, why?
Why? Because you've been a bad girl.
I've done nothing.
She's been horrible to me. If you saw her yesterday, she was kicking us in the shin and everything. And she hasn't put her gold bikini on.
Why? You've got a certain set of skills.
Oh, you little pervert. Sorry, for you lot who don't get that, we watch a lot of films and she has a crush on Liam Neeson and she thinks Taken is wonderful. Actually, does that mean if I put a leather coat on, you'll put your bikini on?
I'll get you an apple, you can have it later.
An apple? Not happening.
No chance.
Fair enough. Well, so much for that. Let's jump on the whiteboard and have a little look at some maths and blow some of the illusions you see from these idiots.
You ding-dong!
Give it to me again.
You ding-dong!
Oh, make it stop!
Because they constantly tell you can make $1 million in a year. So I'm going to go on the whiteboard and I'm going to show you some figures of what it actually takes to make $1 million in Forex. And then you can make your own mind up as to whether or not these clowns know what they're talking about. Because trust me, it's not as simple as you think. Anyway, let's go on the whiteboard and see what we can find. Right, boys and girls, let's start this classroom. But something's missing. I didn't get me apple. Oi, delinquent.
Yeah?
You're supposed to have had me an apple. Yeah. Sorry. I like winding her up all day. It makes me chuckle. What I'm looking at is some basic maths. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something here. And then I'm going to jump on a spreadsheet and break it down to the pip. And then you'll be able to see exactly what it means to attempt to make $1 million in a year. Because the maths are mind-boggling if you just look at the big picture. But if you break it down, you start seeing a cleaner image. But let's have a look at the overview of what it may take. Okay? So originally you're looking for 1 million. Because the Lambo guys on the land of make-believe, or what you would call Instagram, tell you it's possible. It's quite as simple as that. Now, I'm hoping to kind of show you that through some numbers. So 1 million. Now, if you're working for 12 months, I'm assuming you want a holiday. So I base my figures of trading for 48 weeks of the year. That gives you 4 weeks off. So you can have a week off at Christmas, week off at Easter, and a break in the summer for 2 weeks. Simple stuff. Okay. I'm also looking at the Euro USD. And the reason why I'm looking at the Euro USD is it is a low barrier to entry. In other words, it's cheap. Okay, it's a cheap instrument to trade. The broker I took the figures from currently has a spread during the London hours of 0.6. So the spread is incredibly tight. Okay. So what are your margin requirements to deal that currency pair, where they are cheap. So for £1 a pip, you need £392 in your account, which means you have to do 1,000,000 pips and win every one of them to get your million at the end of 48 weeks. Bit of a tall order. So what if you had £10 a pip? Still got to do a lot. You know, it's 100,000 pips. Colossal. You would need 3,900 in your account. Okay. But let's just say you had £100 a pip. Okay. Massive. Doing really well. You're a high net worth individual. You still need 39,000 for your margin. But it gets worse than that, because that is just to open up the trade. You have got absolutely no room for if the trade goes against you, because the second it moves against you, you're going to get a margin call because you'll have used up all of your equity. Okay? You have absolutely no room if you make a mistake. You're going to lose. It's the nature of the beast. Just part and parcel of the game. So the rule of thumb on a minimum point of view is 3 times your margin. So if you've got 4k, you need 12 in your account, just to give it some room to breathe, absorb some losses, and stop you getting a margin call. And realistically, you want 4 times. And the more you have in, the less risk you're putting on. So if you're looking at 2% risk and even 5% risk, you need to be 5 and 6 times that. Okay, so now the figures start looking a little bit scary, because immediately you think, oh my God, I haven't got 30 grand. I can't trade 1,000,000. And that's the whole point of this exercise. Most people have an average of £5,000 in an account. 2,000 at best, sort of thing, you know. But even if you had 2,000, you can do £1 a point. All right. You do £1 a point, you do 25 points a day. That adds up across a week. Then you can use that winning to increase your bid and do it again the week after, and then suddenly you're still doing 25 pips, but your bid size might now be £1.05, so it will naturally grow. Okay. And yes, it's slow in the beginning and it'll gather speed as it goes forward. And I've done this on compounding plans before, and compounding is exactly how I built my account. So I know it works, and I know this from first-hand experience. But I also know that when they start mooting around £1,000,000, it's ludicrous. And just to put it into perspective, if you're wanting 1,000,000, I'll just clean this down and I'll show you a couple of figures. Okay. Before I jump onto the spreadsheet. To do 1,000,000 on 48 weeks of the year, you need to pull in every month £83,000. It's a shade over that. It's 83.33 and 30. All right. That's a lot of money. So every week you need to be pulling in £20,833 per week. And that's assuming you're doing it in 5 days. Now, I only trade 3 days a week. So for me, that will be a lot more. And if you are trading 5 days a week, It is £4,166 a day to get a million. All right. So if you're on £1 a point, you need to pull in every day 4,166. Colossal mountain. And it ain't happening. All right. We start breaking it down. And I'll show you that on the spreadsheet. So let me jump in the study, jump on a spreadsheet, and we'll start breaking this down. And you'll see the real figures. And then you can make your own mind up as to whether it's possible. And then at the end, I'll put in an average yearly salary, sort of based on something that I would expect. And then what kind of positions you need to put on to achieve it. All right. So come with me and let's jump on the spreadsheet and we'll have 2 minutes just breaking this down. Okay guys, here we go. Spreadsheet. We've had a quick overview of what you actually need to hold in your account in order to trade up to $1 million, using just a rough idea of what people trade with, because they do trade with £1, maybe it's up to £10 a point, because that's not out of the ordinary. And if you're a high net worth individual, you may go to £100 a point. But you saw the figures involved. You know, you need roughly £400 for £1, 4,000 for 10, 40,000 for 100. So the figures start getting a bit scary. You know, I rounded them up. But let's just look at the pip count, because when you see these morons on the land of make-believe, they make it out as if you're doing it with next to no pips. They'll say, oh, 50 pips a day, you're going to be a millionaire. Well, if you could compound it that way and you did it every single day without one loss, they're right. But this is not a perfect world. And you'll take 1 step forward, 2 back, 3 forward, 2 forward, 5 back, 1 forward, and so forth, because your equity curve will be as erratic as what the bar charts are. So let's just look at it in black and white, and assuming what they say is true, you're going to do 50 pips a day. And you're not going to lose, not once. But we're going to break the maths down a bit further. And then you tell me at the end of this, drop it in the comments below, if you now think it's possible. Because I've done this a long time and I can't do it. I really can't. Okay. So starting with £1 or as near to it. So it's £1.07, because this is like my compounding spreadsheet. It works things out for me. At £1.07, you would need 3,888 pips per day. And that's assuming you're winning each trade at 50. And you would need to win 77.8 times in order to achieve that on £1 a point. All right? It ain't happening. It just that you couldn't do it. I wouldn't even attempt to do it. You know, even scalping at 77 times, you couldn't scalp to 50 pips. It's just, it's not happening. The market won't allow it. And one of the reasons I picked on Euro USD as an example is that is the biggest market out there. You know, it's massive. You know. So everybody uses it. It's the one that moves pretty much every day, but it still has an ATR of around 90 to 100. So I always look for about a third. I don't want the bottom. I don't want the top. I want the bit in the middle. And that's about 30, 35 pips. So I'm being pretty generous here, allowing this at 50. Okay. So we'll move it down to say you got to £10. So you've traded yourself up. You've got sort of £4,000 or £5,000 in your account. You can open a position up at £10. It's risky because you've got nowhere to go if it moves against you. You will get a margin call. But let's just say you can do it. All right. You have to pull in 395 pips per day and win 8 times at 50. Just rounding these figures up, guys. You know, and even that is a colossal amount to go for. And when you're at £10 a point, it's the stress level is massive. It really is. It's no walk in the park. You know, you get that thing move just 10 pips against you, you're 100 quid straight away. Start twitching. You know, markets will move 10 pips, and the euro, this market we're looking at, will do it like that. So you'll be on the wrong side of the fence very quickly. Okay. Now let's look into some scary figures. £100 a pip. You need 40 pips a day. Excellent. We're on the right track. We now need to trade once a day, just once. But you still got to pull in 40 pips. Just a tall order. You know, still, it's not impossible. However, this thing can move, as we say, very quickly. So 10 pips, you're £1,000. 20 pips, you're £2,000. Not something you want to be looking at. All right? And I hope you can kind of see the maths, what I'm trying to work out here. It's all well and good saying it can be done through compounding and one thing and another. And it can. I built my account by compounding it. And I still compound it. But I've got it to a level now where I don't need to move the pip size anymore. And as my account grows, my exposure is constantly less. Which is why when people ask me, they say, well, the position's quite far against you. You're not stressed. Because it's not impacting the account that much. It used to, but it doesn't anymore. Because I built it. And at the end of the month, I take out what I need and I reinvest the rest, and it just grows. Okay. But let's put this into realistic terms. Okay. And we're talking sub £10 a pip, and we're talking a livable good wage. Now, let's just assume you want to make, well, say £600 a week, you know, which across the year is about 30 grand. All right, so 30,000. I would consider that. Oops, I would consider that a good wage as well. Funny enough, there you are, 30,000. I consider that to be a livable wage. You'll be able to live in a nice house, drive a reasonably nice car, get a holiday or two every year on 30,000. All right. So this is kind of what I base myself around. This is what I look at. When you hear me say I'm looking for £200 a day, this is kind of how I make that up. Okay. So if you're at £1 a point, you need to do 117 pips a day, which is 2.3 trades at 50 pips. But I think that is high. I genuinely think it is high. So scale it back, 20. Okay. And the reason why I'm looking at 20 pips as opposed to 50 and one thing and another on this market, different markets have different targets. I look at the ATR and I divide it by 3, and it will give me a rough target. Okay. Reason I do a lot of things by 3, you know. I draw my levels on one chart, I get direction off another, and I enter on another. Power of 3. All right. It's just kind of the way that I work things out in my head. But 20 pips a day at 5 days a week, if show me you're working 5 days a week, is 100 pips a week. Okay. At a fiver, it's 500 quid. Simple maths. All right. So let's have a look at this, shall we? So your pip count is still the same, but you need to achieve just shy of 6 winning trades a day. It's not impossible, but it's a tall order, and I wouldn't recommend it. What you're looking for is 1 to 2 trades per day. So if I pull this down, there's 2 trades. Okay. £3. That's all you need, just 3 quid. Do it twice a day, you get your 30,000. Still tough because you have to hit both of those home runs. All right. Mark it down a bit further because we're looking for 1. There you go. £6 a day. Okay. Just 6. 1 trade. 30,000 a year. That's simple. All right. And one of the reasons why you see me scale all the time, I know I can safely get 10, 15 pips pretty easily. Going into the market and pulling that out, it's not really a problem if you know what you're looking for. But you want a bit extra. But I don't know how far the market will go. So I base my basic trade on this sort of maths to get me my basic salary. Everything else is bonus. So if my first 6 quid hits them 20, I know at the end of the year I've got at least 30. But then I have a scale point which might hit the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. And then suddenly my 30,000 a year might be 50,000. And if I continue to scale, I scale at 5 positions, that could be 70,000 a year, which is roughly where I'm at. Okay. I showed my broker statements once and it worked out to be between 70 and 80,000 a year. All right. And I'm pretty good at this. You know, I'd like to think I'm not bad. You know, it took me a long time to get here, but I've done it. I learned from this one, that one, and the other one. I pieced it all together, made my own style, and it suits me down to the ground. And it pays me, and I show it constantly. But that's the maths behind it. So again, do you really think $1 million is possible, knowing what you know from the charts? Because it grieves me when I watch it and they try and say it's going to be done in 12 months. No. It's like signal services. They say, follow my signals, you'll get 10 grand a month. Based on what? It's just a number that they pick out of the air. I mean, I was asked today if in the morning calls that I do I plot entries and exits? And the simple answer is no, I don't. I show you what I'm looking at, why I'm looking at it, and then I'll trade it when it's time to be traded. Because what I look at between 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning is still not the full fruit of that trade, because I've got to go through the open, and the open can throw a market. So whatever I see at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning could be different at 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. You just got to know what to look for. So you look for certain criteria. And then I map those criteria to this spreadsheet. So I know from that point to that point, there's a high probability of it going that way. Is it 20 pips? Yes, it is. Right. This is what it's going to earn me then. Kind of a strange way I look at things. But then again, I'm just a strange sort of bobble-headed guy. So that's it, guys. Just wanted to show you the maths behind a million, just so you can kind of get your head around it. If you traded 7 days a week and you traded 365 days a year, it's 2,700. It's a lot of money, you know. So the next time somebody's trying to sell you a signal service or anything like that, ask them what the maths is behind it and see if they know. I'm pretty certain they won't. All right. So there we go. Another bit of a ramble for a Wednesday. Whoop-de-doo. Sun's still shining. I think I'll go down the woods. So remember, guys, do what you love. The money will follow. See you all in the next one.